Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Environmental Social Justice. I'm your host, Wendy Nystrom. And today we have the special guests of Casey Reams. We have Aaron, my buddy Dyer, and Debarshi Das. They are all with ONYX Power. So welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you, Wendy. Great to be here.
Well,
Anytime. And now, Aaron and I met a while ago. We did a podcast together talking about basically social impact and equity with respect to pollution and the health of your lungs. And we got to talking about energy. And energy is so important, especially clean energy. And you guys started ONYX Power, I think about 5 years ago. Is that correct?
Almost, just a little more than 4 years ago. But in fact, the origin does start about 5 years ago. So you're right.
Oh, excellent. So could you guys tell me, each individual, we'll start with Casey, then go to Debarshi and with Aaron, how you guys met and the importance of what you're doing? You know, why did you start ONYX?
Yeah, so first of all, we met at a battery company a number of years back, just serendipitous paths crossing, and ended up working on the same project within, and really became fast friends, and, had some ideas that, went outside of just the workplace.
Fabulous. And Debarshi?
Yeah, adding to what Casey mentioned, all of us have worked in energy in different ways, shapes, or forms, and something that compelled us was to do something bigger and make a greater impact with energy, and specifically clean energy. And so there's a really fascinating backstory as to why did we develop the first product, and but ultimately it culminates into our mission, which is to enable clean power access anywhere.
Yes, that's important. And Aaron?
Yeah, and I think I feel like I keep getting roped into a project that these guys want to sign me up for. No, I think I was really motivated and encouraged by kind of the work that Debarshi and Casey were proposing, which was kind of, we'll get into more what the product is, with sort of a mobile clean power solution. I spent a lot of my previous careers on construction sites and job sites, kind of working with mobile power, and just kind of was exposed how obnoxious and dirty and like unsafe it is. And so it's kind of like a kind of hit home with a couple like places for me, and then both cleaning up that space, but also being able to provide reliable clean power access to underserved communities really meant a lot. And so it's a good way to kind of spend some time developing a new product.
And I love the fact that you mentioned about underserved communities, because a lot of people don't realize that a lot of power plants and a lot of places that generate energy, dirty energy, it affects neighborhoods. You get a lot of soot, you get a lot of pollution that rains down on people. And this focus on renewable energy is extremely important. But equally important is having that accessible clean energy in places where you don't have a grid up and ready. And you guys provide this clean energy power as a generator alternative.
That's exactly right. And one of the key projects that we're most proud of that's actually still ongoing was a collaborative project together with Grid Alternatives, which is a fantastic nonprofit in the solar and workforce development space. Also with University of California, Riverside. We jointly pursued and were awarded a California Energy Commission grant. And this was a couple of years back. And it was, the name of the grant, it was Mobile Renewable Backup Generators. And our proposal and project was oriented explicitly around communities that did not have access to clean power, let alone, in some cases, power at all, depending on the community members. So it was 3 tribal communities. The La Jolla Band of Licenia Indians, the Saboba Band of Licenia Indians, and the Blue Lake Rancheria. And so I think it was November of 2022, we delivered over 30 units of our primary battery-based power system called the R5. It was a different generation then, actually. It was a prior generation. It was effectively an R6, and we'll explain what that means, but also with some mobile solar units as well. And so the project has been continued, and actually we're nearing the end of the Energy Commission grant, but we're really proud that the CEC was very, very pleased with our project. They've highlighted it and showcased it broadly as a great success, and that really hit home and allowed us to feel like we are delivering the mission we set out to.
And I love the fact that you mentioned that you're helping tribes and people who have no access to energy at all, because in today's world, that's hard for people to comprehend, that still exists, especially in the United States. And it actually does. And when people rely solely on generators, it's usually diesel, And those do pollute quite a bit of particulate matter, which damages your lungs, with pollution getting into the atmosphere. It's just a bad alternative. And providing this clean energy alternative is very important, but you guys do focus on numerous areas. It's not just the tribal communities, albeit extremely important, but you can pretty much go anywhere because your generators are quite rugged, right? You're very durable.
You're absolutely right. And so on the other end of the spectrum, and even within the tribal communities, we found that the communities use them for periodic emergencies and power outages. But what was fascinating was they started using it for social events, for parties, for Halloween trunk or treats, for community events. And we love that. We would much rather they use the products for that than in emergency scenarios, because that means they're not in a dire situation. So take it to the other end. Last year we ended up doing 4 music festivals with Golden Voice, which is an entity that under AEG's umbrella, and that was a fascinating deployment into the music scene and powering several booths and activations with clean energy, whereas they would have normally had generators or run lots of extension lines. And so it was so you're absolutely right. The deployment possibilities are essentially limitless, because wherever you might see or hear or smell a small generator today, you could actually have ONYX units or even products like ours.
I love the fact when you talk about events, whether it's trunk or treating for kids or a big venue for music, the smell. You brought up a very important fact. People, they forget that these things have a terrible smell. They're going to hurt your throat. Breathing it in isn't exactly the greatest thing in the world. So you're cleaning that up where people can actually enjoy these events without having that smell or the pollution out all over you, and just keeping it clean. I think that's really important that people think about. And I'd also think for singers, affecting their voice. They don't want pollutants affecting their throat. That is their livelihood. That's what they do. And the guys setting up and breaking down the sets, they're around that constantly. So we do have to think it's just outside of our own little worlds and think about everybody around us that's being affected. And I know, disaster is like the extreme, but we live in a wildfire area, and wildfires happen, and we have to, power gets cut when there's high winds. So that's a safety precaution. I get it. But also when wildfires do happen, if a grid goes down, you lose your pumps, to pump water, you lose access for communication. This all happens. And we need these generators in these remote areas to bring us back.
I'm really glad you brought that up, Wendy, because if you remember back in October 2019, it was a particularly bad wildfire season in California. As it turns out, 973,000 customers went without power for an average of 43 hours. And as a result, 125,000 generators were used for backup power. And what a real key takeaway from an emission standpoint that you mentioned is one generator produces more than one light duty vehicle, passenger car, in particulate matter. So one generator, a small generator, is actually dirtier than, a gas powered car. And so just think of all the emissions that were unfortunately generated due to necessity, just to cover people's and businesses' backup power during that wildfire season. And so that was really, really compelling for us, as far as the need is great. There are direct and indirect damages done when people and communities have to use generators for backup power. And so that was really motivating to us. Then there's even the kind of, sadly, the silent killer, in a sense, of carbon monoxide emissions. You might remember Hurricane Laura that hit Louisiana in 2020. Sadly, out of the 15 deaths from the hurricane, 8 were from carbon monoxide poisoning from generator use due to backup power.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's really tragic. And we can do better. And we have solutions today that we can prevent that type of loss of life and damage to communities, and just communities trying to survive in the wake of an emergency. So there are, as you noted, there are many aspects to this and many levels to just the dirtiness of the emissions, the direct and indirect health impacts. And incidentally, in addition, something that our customers told us is, oh, wow, we love how quiet it is. And it's something that, us being power geeks and kind of climate nerds, we always thought about the emissions and how do we eliminate emissions. But it took a few different types of customers who kept remarking, wow, it's so quiet. And that is a great value add. As you mentioned, at events, community events, music festivals, name a use, construction, nobody wants to hear the drone of a generator, right? That is not pleasant. And so that goes away with battery-based technologies.
And again, some people they won't even think about that because it's just something you accept. And as you said, the solutions are there. We have them. And it's so important that you guys at ONYX should be a household name, because when people do have a power outage, like, well, I have to keep my refrigerator running, I have to keep my appliances running, I have to, do things, I have to live. And they just go out to the local store, grab a diesel generator, because that's just the norm. That's where their brain goes. They don't even think that, hey, is there a viable alternative? And that's where you guys come in and fix that.
We would love to be part of that solution. And you're really bringing up excellent points as far as awareness and access. So that's what folks do. You're absolutely right. They might go to a Home Depot, a Lowe's, or local, kind of parts tool store, somewhere to rent equipment, get a generator if it's available, because oftentimes there's a run on them and they're gone. But and this is not an ONYX challenge alone, I think it's for many of our peers in the ecosystem, how can the demand be created such that the providers of rental equipment will also carry zero emissions options? And it's been a bit of a chicken and egg, and we've talked to a number of supply houses and also end customers, and there's the catch-22 of the end customer would rent it if it were available, but it's not available. But the renter will provide it if there's demand. So there needs to be a way to help kind of overcome that cycle and break through that. And so, yeah.
I'm sorry. I was going to add in, and people don't keep forgetting, you have to buy the petroleum to put it in. So you have that risk of running out.
That's right. We even, coming back to one of the Golden Voice festivals we did last year, one of the adjacent activations was being run by a generator that ended up running out of fuel. And however, all of our activations ran the entire time, no issues, no problems. We supplemented with solar on a few with our mobile solar units. We supplemented some others with our mobile expansion battery packs to just extend the runtime, the equivalent of refueling. But no fuss, no muss, it just worked.
I just love the fact, no muss. I mean, it just gets done. You don't have to do a run on anything. You don't have to panic. It just gets done. So you guys have multiple uses and multiple. I've gone to your website a few times. You have multiple different types of generators. Real fast, could you just explain the different levels that you have and what their particular uses are?
Sure. The core unit is called the R5, and it is, just to get into top line kind of specs, it's able to output 4,000 watts. It has a 5 kilowatt hour battery. And the unique aspect we've found is it actually puts out dual voltage power. So, regular household power, like 120 volt, like your outlet at your apartment or home, but also 240 volt power for higher voltage and higher power needs. And that really helped bridge not only light industrial uses, but also enabled us to be able to provide backup power directly to homes or small buildings that may have a transfer switch that's usually plugged in with a generator, but you can now power the same facility with an ONYX R5 unit. So the R5 unit is the hub of the wheel, so to speak. Okay. And we have expansion packs, which we call X packs. There's an X5, which is an additional 5 kilowatt hour battery, and plug and play. It just doubles the runtime of the R5. We also have an X10, 10 kilowatt hour expansion battery. So as you might guess, plug and play, you can triple the runtime of the R5, and you can daisy chain these together with no limit. So that is we thought a lot about how do we create the simplicity and ease of what people are used to with refilling a generator in real time and as you need it. And our solution, and others have similar solutions, is to have plug and play expansion batteries. So we take away that fuel and the range anxiety associated with batteries, where you can just continue to daisy chain more and more. The last product we offer is an M5, which is our mobile solar array, and it's about 550 watts. And so it packs neatly into essentially a carrying case, and it folds out like an accordion. And so, as I mentioned, we've used these at a number of events just to essentially be similarly a range extender to our R5 unit where needed. And so that's essentially the suite of products that we have today.
Yeah, I love when you mentioned the ease of use that people are used to with respect to diesel generators. As someone who has had to use a diesel generator many, many, many years ago, I wouldn't use the word ease of use.
Familiarity, perhaps.
Yeah, familiarity. One, filling the thing. Now, I wasn't in charge of putting the diesel into it, but someone else was. But the person supervising, which was one of our professors, was doing a lot of yelling of don't spill it. You could cause a fire. It could blow. I mean, just everything under the sun. Fear factor was pretty high. And then that ripcord part of it, that wasn't fun. There was nothing fun about that. So I would say that leaving diesel behind would be an easy transition. That's just my own opinion.
Thank you. No, that it really is it's a paradigm shift that needs to happen, and it's what people are used to. And you know, even I said ease of use, but you're absolutely right. It's actually not that easy. And
it's terrifying at times.
Yeah, and it's actually a bit dangerous. You know, exhaust temperatures are anywhere from 700 to 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
Burn people, can cause fires in buildings. This happens all too often. So you're absolutely right. It is actually not it's not an easy default, but it is an easy solution to offer and do something better.
Yeah. Oh yeah, much better. And so you guys with ONYX, you're based in Los Angeles metropolitan area? Yeah,
in the greater Southern California area. That's right.
Fantastic. So how would people find you? And Aaron and Casey, dive in with anything that we're kind of dominating. I do apologize. But if there's anything you guys want to add in that we may have missed in our discussion, but how can people find you? Because I think it's important that they get these generators in their hands.
Yeah, easy to go to our website, onyxpower.io. And I'd actually like to touch on something that's really important to us as far as our broader vision. You know, there are many great companies that make excellent products in battery technology, but what we are really after is building. And building what? Not building products necessarily. We are wanting to first build awareness and demand for zero emissions power products. We want to build capacity, and that's actually human capacity from a training and development standpoint. And we want to build communities to be resilient, both from an energy standpoint, but also economically. And so a key aspect, and actually a very intentional design that went into how we fabricated, architected our product, was to be able to be assembled with entry-level skill and labor. So we want to continue to have our products manufactured locally here, but also expand our reach through community partnerships, and specifically communities who are seeking to do workforce development and train a local workforce to make clean power products to not only serve themselves, but also their adjacent communities. So our long-term vision is actually to develop a network of community-based manufacturing partners that can manufacture products locally, serve themselves locally for events and emergencies, and really cascade and proliferate this type of mutual success-based model.
That's fantastic. I'm a big advocate for social impact and socioeconomic impact, so helping people live their best lives, basically. But doing that is amazing. So not only you're just saving the planet from pollution, you're saving the planet with the people in it. That's nice. That's a nice little meld that you're doing.
No, thank you. And I want to give Aaron a chance to talk a little more about really his vision of how ONYX's plans for workforce development really fold into other workforce approaches.
Sorry, I have a dog.
Well, I had to lock mine out, so I know how that goes. No, I mean, I think Debarshi hit on a lot of it there. I mean, I think Debarshi comes from sort of a chemical processing background. Casey spent a lot of time in kind of advanced manufacturing and clean tech jobs. Similar for myself. And you see this sort of trend where like the higher tech the product gets, like the higher tech the manufacturing gets, and you get really kind of specialized, workers that are really like they work on the machines, right? But they don't actually build products that are or develop skills that are transferable necessarily elsewhere. And like one of the things that we hear a lot about, and I think it's actually true, is that, to do all the things that we want to do in the energy transition, more broadly, is we need, like electricians, and we need people that are installing solar panels. And you need these sort of like core skills that have, that it kind of become 4-letter words, and sort of like, continuing education and job development. And so what we like about the R5 is that you don't really need, in fact, we've actually demonstrated this. You can take someone that, has no experience with wiring at all. And, within, a couple, like a week of kind of working on it, and following instructions can, build a unit in, a handful of hours. And what it does though, in the process, it exposes them to, like alternating current wiring. So like the type of wiring you have in your home, you get exposed to like solar panel type wiring, battery circuits. We're in the process of like figuring out how to integrate some more kind of programming, kind of IT type work into our assembly process. So again, it's all these things that maybe you get.
Yeah, I think Aaron froze.
Oh no! Did you come back?
Yep, you're back.
Yeah,
your face was fabulous. That was awesome.
Good. Sorry about that. But yeah, so basically in one product, you can get exposed to sort of, 3 or 4 different verticals of clean tech job types. And like, you can say, well, I liked that. I didn't like that. Now I want to go maybe develop a career, based around solar installs or based around, battery, manufacturing skill set. And so that's where we're kind of seeing, where I see the vision is like, how do we make this kind of like an entry level starting project where people can get paid, to learn basic skills, and then they can go learn that they can say, hey, I like that. I want to go build a career in that, that also sort of helps advance the energy transition.
Yeah, it takes away the learning curve, give people a chance to go through that learning curve, give people a chance to not be afraid of the unknown, right? You get your hands on with these things for the first time. Everyone's got to figure out how to do these things at one point. So why not make it easy? Like, there are many micro decisions in the design of how we've gone about this product architecture, so people can make it with their hands, with no specialized tools, and so we can scale it accordingly. But as people work with this for the first time, like Aaron said, those skill sets will then, become familiar and comfortable for them as they take on, a path ideally in this field.
I think it's wonderful that you are focusing on the individual and what they want to learn, because so many times, one, I think trade schools are amazing. I think that people, if you want to learn to work with your hands or learn a craft, fantastic. They should be promoted more often. And I love the work that Mike Rowe is doing to promote that. Mm-hmm. But also teaching people, if you can try one thing, maybe you don't like it, maybe it doesn't click with you. Try something else and keep learning until what works for you clicks, and then excel at that. Too many people get shoved into something saying, well, this is what you're going to do because we've decided it. And it never works. That never works. So I love the fact you do that. That's amazing.
Well, and I'm glad you mentioned the trade schools. That you kind of led that into another discussion point we've been looking at. I mean, one of the things, we're still growing as a company, and like a lot of our orders come in batches, right? So like, it's actually really difficult in California and in many places for smaller businesses to hire and maintain, full scale workforces. Like, you really got to make sure you keep work for them, that when you sign up someone for a job, you're kind of, you're signing up their future with your company, right? They're dependent upon you. And that's really challenging if you can't rely on that. But what we're pursuing is like, how do we partner with those trade schools or training programs to, basically provide, paid work for their students, that maybe count towards a certificate or towards their training, completion, so they can actually get real work experience, can show up to work, can, do the types of things they would, as an employee. But then, they're still part of their certification program. So it's really, I think, a real something that we're trying to explore actively. We found a couple, centers that are maybe willing to participate. But again, that's there's insurance and there's, liability concerns everybody has with that, making sure of it. But the fact that they're open and amenable to considering, I think, kind of shows the attention that this space is getting, in workforce development. So I think there's some real opportunities there for skills building and growth opportunities for us as a company as well.
Oh, absolutely. I know that the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers are actively looking at, training people about solar and electricity with respect to that. So it's a slow progress. Everything that, that it's going to be hard to transition people because they're used to it, but it is happening and it takes time. And I think we're now finally seeing that change happen, which is fantastic because it's absolutely necessary. And the work that you guys are doing is so important to make sure, again, helping neighborhoods with the skill set, learning, job. I mean, people need hours to get those certificates, so you're providing those hours of knowledge. But then, of course, the pollution aspect and keeping the air clean and keeping neighborhoods clean. And again, talking about, when Aaron and I first met, talking on a podcast about lungs and respiratory health, little kids, it's their entire life that gets affected by this. It's not something that goes away. It will stay with them for the rest of their life. So we need to make that change now. And what you guys are doing at ONYX Power is so incredibly important. So thank you guys. You're doing great work.
No, I appreciate it. And we're only one part of the solution, so it takes all of us.
Absolutely. And that's what I love about the whole environmental sustainability people I'm meeting is everyone works together really nicely. Everyone knows that it is going to be a collective effort and not a singular one. So you are absolutely right.
No, thank you. And, one of our mantras is it's not about us, because it really isn't. It's really about the impact that we make, the partners that we have, and their sustainable goals, and the communities that we help to develop. And really, when it comes to the folks that we're looking to invite to discuss partnerships with myriad, right? Anything from municipalities who may be looking to clean their fleets of portable power equipment. So that, again, building awareness and demand first, and then community-based organizations or workforce development groups who want to build human capacity. We want to partner with them to teach them and train them on how to build our products, so we can develop this network of community-based manufacturing sites. And then ultimately, we're helping build resilience for communities to serve themselves from an energy and an economic capacity. So those are the types of groups we'd love to talk with and encourage them to reach out, again, whether directly to our website at onyxpower.io or email hello@onyxpower.io, and we'll get back to you really quickly.
Such a great, easy email, hello@onyxpower.io. So many people they'll give me something about this long. I'm like, oh, no one's going to remember that. So guys, thank you so much. People, please check out onyxpower.io. Check out the generators, check out the work they're doing. This is very important in our transition away from petroleum and pollution and into a cleaner energy life cycle. So I highly recommend checking them out. So Casey, Debarshi, Aaron, thank you guys so much for your time today. I know you're very busy, but it's been an absolute pleasure having you on.
The pleasure is ours, Wendy. Thank you very much.
Anytime. And guys, I'm Wendy Nystrom, your host with Environmental Social Justice. We'll catch you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.